In December of last year, U.S. President Barack Obama made good on his promise to repeal the military policy of prohibiting openly gay people from defending this country. With a stroke of his pen, the Commander-in-Chief ended 18 years of don't ask, don't tell. Retired Navy Commander Zoe Dunning is the board co-chair of the Service Members League Defense Network advocating for the repeal and was there for the President's historic signing ceremony. Zoe Dunning, thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight and speak about this most important event.
Well, thanks. I'm really happy to be here. I appreciate it.
I'm excited that you're here sharing this with us. And speaking of excitement, can you describe to us that day in Washington, D.C. with hundreds of people and the President Obama there signing this into law?
Well, it was really a dream come true. I mean, I've been working on repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell for 18 years now, and it's been a really long haul.
Yeah.
And you always have to have this vision that kind of maintains you through the high, the good times and the low times. And I think I always mentally had this vision. Of course, it was the Rose Garden, not an auditorium in the dead of winter. But I always kind of had this vision that perhaps I'd actually get to be present at the ceremony when this law gets repealed. And so when I got the invitation to be there in Washington, D.C. for the ceremony, I was ecstatic.
Well, not only were you present, you were there almost right next to the President. Tell us about that.
I got a phone call that asked me for my Social Security number, my full name, and my date of birth. And I was a little hesitant at first, but I said, all right. And I gave it to them and got my invitation to the ceremony. And then I started talking with colleagues I knew that were going to be there for the ceremony as well. And I said, isn't that odd that they asked you for your Social Security number? And they said, no one asked me for my Social Security number. So I was like, oh, that's kind of bizarre. And then I came to find out after I'd already arrived in D.C. that indeed I was one of two veterans that were selected to be up on stage with the President when he signed the bill.
Hence the security.
The security provision. If I was going to be within I was as close to him as I am to you.
Oh my goodness.
And so I think they probably wanted to make sure it was all good.
Oh my goodness. And you had a little quip with the President, did you not?
I was a little nervous. I mean, I was excited to be up there, and to look out and be able to see all the faces of people who'd been working on this issue for all these years was phenomenal. And I wanted to sort of be more of a participant than necessarily just an observer, a very close observer, but I wanted to, participate. So I was trying to notice every single detail, and he had 15 pens, and he signs one letter per pen.
Oh, that's right.
And then gives the pens away as souvenirs afterward. And he got about halfway through his name, and I just sort of blurted out, make sure you spell it right. And, fortunately, he was a good sport, and he laughed, because there was like this momentary pause. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that was my outside voice. But he laughed, and Nancy Pelosi laughed, and it was a good moment. So it was nice to, have sort of like an interaction with the President during this experience.
Well, after 18 years, this was a hard struggle, yes?
It was a very hard struggle. I mean, through 8 years of an administration that was not, friendly to what we were trying to achieve.
Exactly.
And I was actually in the Senate gallery 2 weeks before the signing when the Senate was voting on the defense authorization bill that had the amendment to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell attached to it. And it was unsuccessful. And I sat there in that Senate gallery, and when we lost in that vote, I dug deep inside. I was like, I don't know if I can do this for another 2 years, because I would have to wait until the next Congress, and the lame duck session was running out. And I was just like, I don't know if I have it in my reserves. I don't know if I can do it for another 2 years. And then it was announced that they were going to do a standalone bill, and looked like we had the votes, and it's successfully passed as a standalone bill a week later. But
you had a specific argument that was just for you, that others cannot use this argument in their defense of the repeal of this. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think one of the reasons that I was selected to be up there on stage with the President is that I had sort of a unique position in the history of this issue. I came out in 1993 when Clinton took office, and actually won my Don't Ask, Don't Tell discharge hearing. I was one of the very first test cases under the policy. They weren't exactly sure how one prosecutes or defends it, and I actually won my case. The Board of Officers voted to retain me. And then when the Pentagon found out that I won, and they don't like losing,
imagine not.
They issued a memorandum to all military legal officers essentially stating that the defense strategy I used was illegal for anyone else to use. So I got to become this exception and was allowed to continue serving openly as a lesbian in the military for 13 years until my retirement.
So a unique distinction for you.
Very unique distinction.
And also, we have some opposition from Elaine Donnelly, for one person who is for the Center of Military Readiness, who states that people serving as openly gay will somehow cause our military not to be ready. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's unfounded. I think anytime you kick out 13,000 well-qualified service members just because they're gay, I think that hurts military readiness. And certainly my experience in the military was that, after I came out, my unit members accepted me, and our units continued to be rewarded and recognized for good performance.
Zoe Dunning of the Service Members League Defense Network, thank you again for spending your evening with us. And for more information on the implementation of the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, go to sldn.org on the internet. Coming up next, civil disobedience at San Francisco City Hall with Marriage Equality USA.